Hey guys, welcome back to 428 Shibuya Scramble. It's TJ Gamer Girl signing on. So, last episode we played Osawa, until we got a keep out, and I've gotten everyone else to their to be continued, so the only character I can see that could have a jump to get rid of that keep out is Minorikawa, who's still trying to meet the deadline. And it's just one thing after another. Excuse me. Minorikawa looked up to see a young woman standing there. I'm so sorry, she said. About my father. She gave a tiny bow. Your father? Oh, the rude old man. He's just a little worked up right now. That's more than a little worked up, kiddo. Because this seems like how he normally is. Please don't pay him any mind. So what, you waiting on your boyfriend? Huh? The woman was taken aback. I happened to hear you two arguing earlier. Would have been about 2 hours ago. Oh, I see. An awkward, embarrassed smile came to the woman's face. I thought he was going to ask my father for permission to marry me, so we've been waiting for him, but... But he hasn't shown up? No, he must be really busy. She cast her eyes down sadly. Minorikawa took a better look at her. She was gorgeous. Hey, she's taken. A woman with her looks wasn't something he saw every day, that was for sure. Say, would you mind talking with me for a bit? He asked. Me? Yeah. I kinda need to turn my mood around here. Well, okay. At least until my father gets back. The woman cast an anxious look toward the restrooms. What's your name? Rumi. She sat down across from him. Wait a second. Aren't you? Minorikawa peered at Rumi's face. One of those twins that was chosen as Miss Midoriyama? No, dude. Rumi shook her head. No, not me. No? Darn. Didn't think I'd be that lucky. He took a sip of his now cold coffee. I do know the girls you're talking about, though, Rumi said. I didn't even need to say anything. That that is explanation enough. And I'm pretty sure that got over your not only your laptop, but the table, yourself, and Rumi. Minorikawa spat out his coffee in surprise. Rumi squeaked in alarm as his race splattered her face, but Minorikawa leaned in unconcerned. You mean it? You really know them? Yes, Rumi replied. You were talking about the Osawa twins, right? She got out a handkerchief and wiped the coffee from her face as she spoke. Osawa, huh? Minorikawa glanced down at the project proposal on the table. Sexy Square twins share top prize at local university beauty contest. Midoriyama Academy, Maria and Hitomi Osawa. Yes, that's it! The Osawa twins! I actually won Miss Midoriyama myself a few years ago. This year I served as one of the judges. Minorikawa adopted a self-satisfied pose. Guess I really was born under the right sign to be a freelancer. Please just come to me. Sure, Rumi muttered. Okay, let's talk basics then. Tell me what you know about these girls. Well, I don't really know them personally. Rumi continued to dab at the coffee on her face. But now that you ask, I do remember hearing that they enter the contest separately. Wait, separately? Now Minorikawa was a bit confused. Yes, that's right. I'd assumed they'd enter as a pair, but apparently not. Wonder why. I mean, they're twins. Don't they look alike? Wear the same clothes, do everything together, and say the same things at the same time and stuff? Rumi chuckled and shook her head. No, not at all. Besides, these two aren't identical. They're fraternal twins, she said. They look pretty damn identical. But they don't have the same blood type. Well, Although at a glance they do look very similar. Still, how should I put this? They both give off a very different impression. Oh? Now that sounds interesting. Mind explaining what you mean? Minorikawa opened his memo pad. I talked to them briefly after the award ceremony. The older sister struck me as really energetic, but the younger one was more quiet and reserved. Minorikawa's investigative senses were tingling. I wouldn't figure a shy girl would want to enter a campus beauty contest. I suppose not, no. Yeah. I don't suppose you got anything juicier, Minorikawa asked. Excuse me. Rumi frowned. Would you like to just go ask them yourself? She said. They don't live very far from here. Whoa, hold the phone! Minorikawa could hardly believe what had just fallen into his lap. The advanced info in the project proposal had mentioned the girls were students at Midoriyama, but hadn't given an actual address. If he could talk to them directly, now that would be pay dirt. You know where they live? Well, not exactly. I just heard that they live in Shoto. Aha! Shoto! That wasn't far away. A car or motorcycle would get there in about 10 minutes. Something you don't have. It'd be quicker than going to Midoriyama Academy, and he'd be able to meet with the girls themselves. Midoriyama flashed a quick look toward the restroom. It looked as if Rumi's father had just gotten back. Sorry, she said. I should be going. No problem, and thank you. Rumi gave him a quick nod and hurried back to her seat. Minorikawa grabbed the directory from the public phone and flipped through the pages. To his surprise, there were only 5 listings for the name Osawa with addresses in Shoto. There was neither a Maria nor a Hitomi, but he hadn't expected there to be. He'd need to find their parents. Wasting no time, he called up the first Osawa on the list. Bingo! Minorikawa couldn't help but pump his fist in excitement. He'd gotten the right place on his first try. Way to go, me! He committed the house number listed in the phone book to memory. Just then, the waitress reappeared with the disgruntled expression and Minorikawa's order of spaghetti Napolitan. Here you are, sir. Oh! The pasta was piled high with an impressive mound of grated cheese. It looked almost like a miniature mountain of snow. You did say lots of cheese, sir, the waitress told him. She'd set down a canister of cheese and a bottle of Tabasco. Hot sauce. This looks good, Minorikawa exclaimed. He twirled some spaghetti with his fork and shoved it into his mouth. The slightly sour sweetness of the ketchup blended perfectly with the mellow flavor of the cheese. Oh, that is tasty. There was nothing like satisfying grub to lift the spirits. He turned back to his laptop, still wolfing down the spaghetti. Alright, we're back in action. Let's do this. Yet again, he unthinkingly blurted his words aloud as he slipped back into variety mode. I've got this. I've got this. With ketchup smeared around his mouth, he set his fingers, tapping away at the keys. The waitress let another groan of dismay. Huh? You say something? Minorikawa glanced her direction, but the waitress faked a smile. No, sir, I don't think so. Yeah? Well, then go away. You're distracting me. She's just like, I am going to punch you, you son of a bitch. The moment he looked away, she clenched her fist in indignation. Nothing, sir. Good luck with your work, sir. I don't need luck. I've got this. Eyes jumping back and forth between the pasta and the computer, Minorikawa got to work on his copy once more. Before long, he was oblivious to every sound in the cafe around him. Poor girl. Wouldn't surprise me if there were actually people like that she had to deal with. Or worse! Actually, Rumi's father's worse than Minorikawa. Count your blessings, sweetheart. You could have easily ended up with 2 of them. When he finally snapped out of writing mode, he glanced at his watch. It was 2:20. Almost time for him to head to his next interview. Better get a move on. Kimizuka's taxi came by just as Minorikawa was hurrying out of the cafe. "Oh, what a pleasant surprise," Minorikawa called out. "Nice timing, my man." Kimizuka, startled, look quickly vanished behind an expression of professional resignation. "Do you need a ride, sir?" "You know it," Minorikawa replied. "First, head to Shoto. After that, I'll need to get to Sakuragaoka." As he cast his gaze over at the sights of the city, Minorikawa mulled over his plan for the next part of the day. He'd first interview the Miss Midoriyama girls. Then he'd meet with the head of the theater troupe. In order to leave himself enough time to write his copy, that meant I'd like to get all this wrapped up in 20 minutes. Can you make that happen? Kimizuka flashed a grin. "That will incur a special fare, sir." "Ooh, special," Minorikawa said as he got settled in his seat. I love that word. Kimizuka stepped on the gas. Shibuya was a town of contrasts. It was a town of young people, unpretentious, energetic. The Scramble, intersection, and center guy perfectly conveyed that vibrancy. However, if one turned right at the 109 building and headed down Bunkamuradori, the town's whole atmosphere changed. Shoto was one of Shibuya's, indeed one of Tokyo's, most upscale residential districts. Wherever one looked, there were stately manor houses giving off an imposing air, sending the message that this was no place for the common folk. Right here's fine. Minorikawa directed Kimizuka to pull over. "Wait here for me. I'll be right back." Hopping out of the taxi, he checked the nameplates of the nearby house. Homes. Houses. Homes. Ah, here we go. He spotted a nameplate that read Osoa. Kenji Osoa, huh? The name nagged at him somehow. It had been in the back of his mind ever since he'd seen it in the phone book back at the cafe. Had he heard it someplace before? He walked up to the gate and pressed the button for the intercom. Even the little chime made when pressed sounded elegant. Minorikawa waited, but there was no response. He looked at his watch. It was 2:30 now. His interview with Shinosuke Orai of the Wandering Angels was supposed to have started already. Episode 3, yes! With the help from Shin Ichibando, Mondo was able to get out of his apartment. Then, when all the players had finally assembled, the troupe proceeded with one last rehearsal before showtime. But again, tragedy stuck. Mondo came down with food poisoning after eating his lunch. He was rushed to the hospital in an ambulance, and the Angels were once again lacking an actor for the key role of Shiro. Arai was on the verge of panic. Finally, however, he came up with a solution. Novice actor Takuya Amo would take on the part. Continued in episode 4. Still, he wanted to meet with the twins first if it was possible. He had to make a choice. He decided to wait a little bit longer. Or he decided to give up and head to his next interview. Wait a bit longer. Just 5 more minutes. Suddenly, a man's voice came through the intercom. "Yes, who is it?" He sounded rather guarded. "It's Minorikawa." "Where might I know you from, Mr. Minorikawa?" "Oh, you know, here and there. I mean, there's only one Minorikawa, really." "Are you playing games with me?" "I don't have time for that. Please, just open up." "There's no way I'm letting you in." The discussion was getting them nowhere. Minorikawa decided he'd have to take the direct approach. "Look, just hold your horses. I'm here for an interview. You got that?" "An interview?" He'd taken the bait. Most folks could hardly resist the word interview. "That's right. It's a piece for 4-star general gossip." "Wait. This is for one of those kinds of articles?" The man sounded angry now. "What do you mean, those kinds of articles?" "I'm just looking for an interview." "Like hell you are. I'm not talking to anyone from the gossip." "You're not the one I'm here to talk to. I want to interview your twin daughters." "My daughters?" No parent would deny their children a chance for a word of their achievements to spread. "I understand they won a shared prize for a beauty contest at Midoriyama Academy. If you wouldn't mind my interviewing them, The intercom cut out before Minorikawa could finish. Hey, what gives? I'm begging out here, on my hands and knees. He wasn't actually on his hands and knees, but whoever was on the end couldn't see that. If your daughters aren't home, can you at least tell them I want to get in touch with them? He wasn't even using the intercom now. He was just shouting over the gate. A man stepped out the front door. Give me your business card, he said. I'll have them get in touch with you later. The man had a somewhat stricken look on his face. This had to be Kenji Osawa then. Wait, hold on. Osawa? Now Midorikawa recognized him. This was Kenji Osawa, the preeminent virologist who worked for Okoshi Pharmaceutical. Four-star General Gossip had run a scandalous article on him in the past. Midorikawa remembered reading it. He held out his business card and Osawa snatched it from him. The virologist started to head back into his house. Please see that they get back to me, Mr. Osawa, Midorikawa shouted after him. And then he noticed something odd. It was in the middle of the afternoon, but every window in the house had its curtains drawn. That, combined with Osawa's demeanor, set off alarm bells in Midorikawa's head. He knew he was onto something, but he couldn't linger at the Osawa residence any longer than he already had. He needed to get to that theater ASAP. He hurried back to the taxi and told Kimizuka to go. A few minutes later, the rear tire skidded sharply as the cab came to a stop beside a different curb. The trip to from Shoto to the theater in Sakuragaoka had taken I can read. Had taken almost no time at all. Here we are, sir, Kimizuka announced. Wow, that was fast. Still, Midorikawa was at least 5 minutes behind schedule. He hoped he'd still be able to get the interview with Orai. Another keep out? I think this might be the jump. Yep. Midorikawa got his wallet out of his jacket to pay the driver. Oh, no, Kimizuka said, waving a hand. Don't worry about the fare. Huh? Why not? There's still plenty left over from what you paid me earlier, sir. That's what I meant by special fare. That's right. He'd paid Kimizuka a whole 10,000 yen for taking him to Endo Electronics earlier. But, I mean, I'm not the sort of person to keep the change, as it were, Kimizuka said. Midorikawa felt a surge of pride at those words. You're my kind of guy, Mr. Kimizuka. A man on the job can always count on Hachiro Kimizuka's taxi. The driver grinned. Now go on. Go. Thank you. I have a feeling we'll meet again. As Midorikawa entered the theater lobby, he saw a bunch of flower bouquets, patron gifts of appreciation. Among the names of senders were celebrities he recognized. The largest of the bouquets was sent by Koichi Nakamura of the secret society Chunso. I feel like Chunsoft. I feel like that's a reference. No, yeah, Chunsoft. That's a Spike Chunsoft. That's funny. Next largest came from Marutaro Ishihara from the government organization Joy Yacht. Not familiar with that possible reference. Following were those from actress Barako Rose, popular scenario writer Ebisu Ipponmatsu, Tohoku Busters, Bus Tours Co., bus guide Kimiko Amo, professional baseball player Masa Narikyo, the ventriloquist Shinshin, ukulele player Hawaii Matsuda, online TV critic Genzo Akitu, and so on. Evidently, the Wandering Angels were a pretty popular acting troupe. Episode 4? Yes! Novice actor Takuya Amo, despite his nervousness, gave a creditable performance as Shido, as the production got underway. But as the show continued, his inexperience became apparent. He went on stage for the big wire action scene, having forgotten to attach himself to the rigging. Tozuka was quick to act, rushing on stage in the improvised role of assassin with an Edo accent number 1, and fixing the rope to Amo's back during the confusion. Wow. Quick thinking, Tozuka. People were setting out pamphlets and flyers out on a nearby table. There was a palpable tension in the air. The crew seemed skittish as they went about their work. "He's late!" someone shouted all of a sudden. It was a man over in the corner of the lobby, railing angrily to nobody in particular. Why the hell hasn't that journalist showed up yet for the interview? Looks like he'd been waiting on Midoriyama then. What's his deal pulling this while we're this busy? Guess that's Shinosuke Orai. I've been busy myself, Midoriyama said, keeping his composure. Trust me, I know how it goes. Huh? Who the hell are you? I'm the guy you've been waiting for. Mr. Orai? The man glared at him. It's Orai, he said. Anyway, I'm Midoriyama. Sorry to keep you waiting. Though, really, a short wait is a small price to pay for the chance to be interviewed by me. Well, I hope you can appreciate how valuable my time is now that you're taking it, snapped Orai. Wow, someone sure has a high opinion of himself, Midoriyama replied. He marched up to Orai. Damn right I do. I'm Shinosuke Orai. The theater man got right up into Midoriyama's face. Like anyone even cares. A jolt of tension sparked between the two men. Oh dear. Ow! Here is the jump to Osawa. Between two other people, Osawa and Tanaka. Yeah. But I'm gonna continue with Midoriyama right now. I beg your pardon, a woman interrupted, but Mr. Orai does have a schedule to keep. And who are you? Miss Tsukuzawa. I'm the producer. Well, listen, Sue. I'm in the middle of an interview here. Please don't interrupt. What? That's how you conduct an interview? That's right. This is how I roll. Look, whatever, Orai growled. Let's just do this already. Fine by me. The two men sat down at opposite sides of a table in the lobby. But Tsukuzawa spoke up again. Mr. Orai, don't forget the meeting you have after this. Yeah, handle that, would you? Midoriyama let out a derisive snort. It's like you're holding cords, he said. Do people actually hang around you with that kind of attitude? You have no right to judge my acting troupe. Midoriyama straightened up in his chair, a mocking smile on his lips. Oh, so it's your acting troupe, huh? He said. Why not just play all the roles yourself? Heck, you could even be your own audience. How dare you! Orai rose to his feet and made to leave, but Tsukuzawa herded him back down into his chair. Midoriyama continued as if he hadn't heard. Just what is it that you do anyway? He asked. Orai raised an incredulous eyebrow. You don't know? No, why should I? You came to an interview without knowing anything about who you were interviewing. Yep. That's it! Get out! Orai roared and pointed angrily toward the exit. How dare an unmannered clod like you come in here and waste my time? Hey, who's being unmannered now? I came all the way out here to hear your story, didn't I? Why don't you get out? Midoriyama pointed to the exit as well. Why the hell should I have to leave? Orai demanded. This is my house! Theater jargon for the theater itself. Oh, okay, I was gonna say you live here. Look, just get out! This time, both had yelled, pointing toward the exit in unison. Tsukuzawa quickly interposed herself between them, forcing a smile. Gentlemen, please, calm down, she said. Then she turned to Midoriyama. You should be aware that Mr. Orai used to be a broadcast writer. Someone who writes for television or radio programs. A great show depends on not only the actor's performances, but on the skill of the broadcast writer. He's responsible for a lot of big hits. You don't need to mention that, Odai grumbled. Nonetheless, Tsukuzawa rattled off the names of several shows. Minorikawa did indeed recognize many of them. He murmured. So how come you're running a failing theater now? Failing? Odai went red in the face. I'm not wrong, am I? You are absolutely the rudest person I've ever met. What would a rank amateur like yourself know about theater? Odai's face was dark with rage. But Minorikawa didn't back down. Listen, this has nothing to do with how well your theater is or isn't doing, he snapped. The television world wouldn't accept you, so in order to retain your pride as an entertainer, you started doing theater. Isn't that so? Don't act like you know anything. I've staked my entire life on this theater. It seemed as if Odai might throw a punch at any moment. Sure, a city theater might seem small time compared to TV, but you get a lot more of a response from it. Response? Now that sounds interesting. Darn right, Odai exclaimed. You can see it from up on stage. The audience. You can see their faces. There was a passion in Odai's voice now. You can really feel it. When the audience is enjoying themselves, you can feel that energy. You can't get that from doing television. Thinking back on it now, my time spent working on TV. Let's see, what's a good analogy? It's like being handed a towel that's already damp. No, that's not right. Okay, so a better analogy would be... And without further preamble, Odai began talking about his tribulations back in broadcast writer days. Minorikawa smiled inwardly. The interview ended promptly after 15 minutes, the time that had been promised. Both men emerged from it as if from a daze. Minorikawa found himself staring Odai in the face, shaking him by the hand. So, what kind of story did I just get? He asked, speaking half to himself. You heard about one man and his life, and I have to admit, it was a good interview. Thanks. You have my gratitude. With a satisfied smile, Minorikawa closed his notebook. Right. Glad to hear that, then. Odai inclined his head, looking a bit bewildered. Oh, that's Tsukuzawa. A flustered Tsukuzawa interrupted. Mr. Minorikawa, wasn't this interview for a piece about the performance? Huh? Minorikawa blinked. It's just that you were only asking about Mr. Odai and not about the performance itself, Tsukuzawa said. Oh, I see what you mean. Actually, I came here for a piece I'm going to be writing called Where Are They Now? Washed Up Broadcast Writer Showcase. Washed up? Odai was red in the face all over again. You bastard! How dare you! Forget everything I just told you. I do not give you my permission to use it in your magazine. You're too late. What? I've already heard your whole story. You should be grateful that I'll be writing a piece on it. You bastard! With a wild look in his eyes, Odai snatched up a hammer the stage crew had left behind. Wait, go ahead, hit me. Ouch! Oh boy. Go ahead, hit me. Oh, I'll hit you alright. Odai waved the hammer menacingly. But the attack came to a sudden halt as a ringtone started him out of his fury. Hold on a moment, Minorikawa said brightly. I have to take this. He whipped out his cell phone. Hello, Minorikawa speaking. This is Osoa. Wow, he'd called back a lot sooner than Minorikawa had expected. Have your daughters come home then? No. Actually, there's a favor I'd like to ask you. A favor? Minorikawa thought back to his visit to the Osoa residence. The drawn curtains, the stricken look on Osoa's face, Minorikawa's instincts had sensed something significant going on. Apparently, getting the full story wasn't going to come out without some cost. Favor, huh? Is it something urgent? I'll pay whatever I have to. I just need you to look into something as quickly as possible. His voice had the telltale desperation of a man who had been backed into a corner. Alright, Minorikawa said. I can help you out for a little while. Osoa hurriedly explained what he was after. The request was a strange one. He wanted Minorikawa to look into a scandalous article that 4-star general gossip had run about him in the past. What makes it so important? Do I have to say? I mean, you're asking me to look into something without explaining anything. He eyed Odai, lurking nearby with obvious irritation. Midoriyama would need to calm down the erstwhile broadcaster writer, or else his interview really would be for naught. He decided to bluff both men at the same time. Let me just say one thing, he said into the phone. He made sure he spoke loud and clear that Odai would overhear. I want to tell the world this story. No, I need to tell it. If I don't feel that way about something, no amount of money in the world will get me to write an article on it. That's my pride as a writer at work. Midoriyama could see Odai's aura of rage fading as he listened. The theater man looked surprised. Phew. Meanwhile, Osawa had decided to open up a bit. Alright, he said. I can't share all the details, but... Okay, he's in a talkative mood now. Good job, Midoriyama. See, this is going fine. The power balance of the entire world might be at stake here, Osawa continued. And I mean that quite literally. I can tell you more after you're done investigating. Wait, was he serious? How could the world's balance of power hinge on looking into some alleged marital affair? It was so absurd that Midoriyama had to fight the urge to burst out laughing. A person would need to be out of his mind to believe a story like that. But Midoriyama wasn't the average person. And sometimes, the truth was so ridiculous, it really was stranger than fiction. Also, I wasn't lying. Midoriyama's instincts told him that much. Alright, he said. I'll check the editing department's notes from back then. Midoriyama felt his excitement building. Things are really getting interesting. For the moment, he nearly forgot Toyama and his troubles. When he ended the call, Odai approached him and extended his hand. Listen, your methods might be a little extreme, but I can tell you take pride in your work. Of course I do. I'm sorry for getting so worked up. I bet you'd write a fine article about me. So please, Mr. Midoriyama, let the world know about me and my half-lived life. Midoriyama took the offered hand and shook it. Leave it to me. Once I'm done with it, you won't just be some washed-up nobody anymore. Mr. Orai. It's Odai. Midoriyama grinned. Midoriyama rushed out of the theater. He'd completed all the interviews that he could get done before 4 o'clock. Now he had an hour left to write it all up to convince the folks from the loan company that the gossip could stay afloat. He let out a roar, psyching himself up for the final push. To be continued. Yes! All that's left is to finish up Osawa's block. So that's what we're going to do in the next episode. Until then, this is the Gamer Girl signing off. Bye bye.